2 games into the NBA Finals, and the Boston Celtics now lead 2-0. Although this game was a lot closer, and for a while it looked like Dallas might be able to hold on to their lead, Mazzulla out-schemed Kidd again, and Boston's elite defense showed its fangs again as well. Boston made life miserable for Dallas's guards on both sides of the ball, and a big contributor to that was Jrue Holiday, who ended the game with 26 points, 11 rebounds, and only 3 missed shots. Holiday was a huge difference maker for our Boston team. Looking for one, it was just always in the right spots when he needed to be. I want to take a quick moment to break down how Holiday affected the game on both sides of the ball, and arguably won the Celtics game too. The beginning of the game is pretty emblematic of what I'm talking about, with Holiday always being in the right spot. Throughout the game, Holiday continuously camped himself out near the dunker spot, ready to punish Dallas whenever Lively, Gafford, or Washington are pulled out of the paint. Here on the opening play of the game, Horford inbounded the ball so he's trailing the action with White, which means Gafford can't dive to the paint, and Doncic and Washington already make a communication error, so Holiday just gets a wide open layup at the rim to start Boston off right. You can even just sort of see at the edge of the camera, Holiday notices Doncic is hanging around the 3-point line, and even Washington notices too. He tries to get Luka to dive down and defend him, but they both end up going, and they're both too late. Here 2 minutes later, Holiday camps himself out on the 3-point line. Dallas was comfortable switching their bigs and Derrick Jones Jr. onto Holiday, and that was a big reason Holiday was able to keep finding easy buckets. Like when he catches the ball in the corner, it's a great fake into a drive, and even with the solid switch, Gafford is a step too late and can't block the shot as it's up and in. Timely shots like this that are both easy and incredibly important matters so much in this series, and having Holiday consistently find you great looks like this as your 4th or 5th option on this team is an amazing thing. A minute later, it's a fake screen from Holiday into slipping pop action, which was actually something he went to a lot this game to freeze Dallas's defense. Here, Washington is anticipating the screen and actually trips once it isn't there, meaning Doncic has to help with the drive or Brown will get an easy look at the basket, so Jalen just pops it out to Holiday, and even though he misses, Boston will continue to use this action to their advantage, and Dallas can't rely on getting bailed out here all game. Another area that Holiday really impacted the game was those 11 rebounds. A huge part of defense that people brush over a lot when discussing defenders is rebounding. A defensive rebound ends the offensive play, and great defense is useless if you let the offense get a rebound and restart the play. I mean, here, Kleber airballs a 3, and with Derrick White on him, it looks like a really easy rebound for Lively, but Holiday waits until Lively just catches it to pressure him for the ball. Lively clearly gets flustered and just starts wailing around till Holiday pokes the ball right before he goes up, and even though Lively makes a huge effort play to save the play, it ends up in a Boston fast break, and Jaylen Brown slams it down. This is exactly what I was talking about when I said he makes the right play. It is in the right spot at the right time. The little moments like these are big for giving Boston the momentum when they need it. Let's cut to the middle of the second quarter. Brown driving just completely scrambles Dallas's defense, something that's happened a lot more than I think anyone expected it to. Kleber has to dive to protect the basket, and Jones switches onto Holiday again. In basically the exact same spot as where he just got him earlier in the game, and Holiday doesn't play any games this time and just blows by Derrick Jones Jr. on the drive, and then gets Kleber behind him and Euros around Kyrie for just another easy drop off at the rim. Holiday keeps finding himself easy shots, and the 2 big things leading to this is Mazzulla's excellent offensive scheming that never allows Dallas to make any mistakes, and Boston's just incredibly talented lineups and ability to consistently space 5 out like I talked about earlier in my last video. Holiday is also the 4th or 5th option on the court like I mentioned, which means Dallas is rarely paying enough attention to him for it to matter, and placing him in the dunker spot or in the corner means Boston can easily punish Dallas for disrespecting him. A play that I think is honestly really smart here is where he drives and finds Tatum cutting. Tatum sort of loses the ball and can't go up, and into Kleber. Jones ends up sticking with Tatum to double, and usually a player like Holiday would space out to the 3-point line, but Jrue knows Washington can only leak down so far because Horford can space the court out. So Holiday just stays right there for a second or two before cutting right when Tatum gets some freedom, and Holiday gets a pretty easy layup at the rim. This patience and game awareness makes it evident why Holiday was so successful in this position before, and why his veteran presence fits Boston all too well. I mean, here, just roughly a minute later, he camps himself out at the dunker spot again, diving to the rim so Irving switches onto White, and when Tatum follows us up by driving, he can just dump it off to Holiday the second that Washington steps up, and it's another easy layup. Basically, none of Holiday's buckets in this game have been technically impressive, but it's incredibly important to have a player with this level of game sense on both sides of the ball. Remember that fake screen action I mentioned earlier? Holiday uses again here to freeze Doncic, who's ready to hedge or switch, but then he's a second late to Holiday, who gets the ball and just immediately drives right to the basket for once again another easy layup. This was the scheming from Mazzulla I was talking about earlier. Everybody knows Brown and Tatum are the main threats, so Dallas's defense has been largely really focused on stopping them. But when Boston is 6 players deep with high-level contributors, it's near impossible to be okay with giving any one of them easy looks. I really love this adjustment from Holiday to end the quarter. First, he starts to drop to the dunker spot like he's continued to this entire game, but it's actually Kyrie who anticipates this, and Brown has to kick it back out, but the defense is still recovering, and the ball finds its way to Tatum, who drives, and Irving has to cover Luka's poor foot speed, and it's an easy 3-pointer in the corner for Jrue. And like I said, he wasn't going to let them get away with it twice, so he sinks this one. Once the second half begins, it's that rebounding I was talking about earlier that shows up big here. Securing the miss and just nicely sending it to Tatum for an and one. Holiday is just literally always finding the perfect spots to be, like here when he knows his Tatum is being doubled. So he dives the basket, and both Hardy and Irving can't really commit without just giving a shooter an open shot. So he finishes his layup around Lively right at the rim. Here it's that fake screen action on Doncic again, but Gafford is in the paint to bail him out so Jrue can't dive, but he then instead slides out when Tatum starts to drive, and even though he misses, this once again is one of those shots that's hard to be bad at. It's something Dallas really can't rely on. Then finally, I want to look at this play here where Jrue's stellar defense forces Washington into nearly committing a half-court violation if he doesn't want to turn the ball over. Doncic has to get it back over the half-court line, and White just grabs that terrible pass. Holiday patiently waits for Horford, and once again there's a miscommunication between Doncic and Washington, so Horford just quickly tosses it back to Jrue, who sinks the 3-pointer to put Boston up 11 with only 4 minutes to go. Now that we are 2 games in, it is impossible to deny that the reason Boston coasted to the finals and looks so good is because they are that good. Being 6 deep with some of the most talented NBA players who all do the right things and play so effectively on both sides of the ball is a clear recipe for a championship. Who could have guessed that? After moving off Marcus Smart, picking up Jrue Holiday was a no-brainer, and his fit to the team has clearly been seamless. Allowing Holiday to really become a glue guy next to Horford is a match made in heaven. Like I've said a few times during this video, having someone like Holiday be your 4th or 5th option offensively is amazing, and another reason why Boston is by and far the best team in the league and are now only 2 wins away from making history. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing, as well as checking out my video on Kristaps Porzingis' affecting Game 1. And if you agree or disagree with anything I said, let me know down below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys after Game 2.